So here's a little diagram that I think is helpful. And this is kind of a generalization, but it shows percentages of where you're going to lose heat through your house. Okay. The biggest one on this diagram, and I've seen diagrams that break this down a little bit differently, but right here we've got 35% through the walls. I would say with exterior insulation, this would be dramatically reduced, okay, because we're eliminating every single one of those thermal bridges, okay? If you're really chasing energy loss, I would just say that we've been talking about double pane windows, insulated glass. In other parts of the world, those are considered like the bare minimum for windows in a home from an energy performance standpoint. Okay, triple glazed windows are like the standard in a lot of places. Okay. Let's talk about the difference between R value and U value. Okay, some of you this might be your first introduction to U value, but we're all probably familiar with R value. And so R value is going to give a number that is the thermal resistance to heat flow. Okay. So what that means is the higher the number, the better. Okay, because it's more able to resist heat flow. Okay. U value is going to tell us how much heat is lost through a material. Okay. And there are tests that are done, and then actually these are like the inverse of each other also, but U value is going to tell us how much heat we're losing. Okay, so the lower the number is going to be, the better. This is kind of misleading, this R value number, because generally we're only getting a value for conductive heat loss. Okay, so that doesn't tell us anything like if we have fiberglass insulation and there's air moving across it or blowing on it or something like that. Okay, the U value, if we have the U value for a material, it's taking into account all of those factors. Okay? And generally where we see the U value is on glass, okay, in windows and doors. And again, I already said this, but R value, if we're looking at the R value of a material, we want a high number. If we're looking at the U value of a material, we want a low number. So just an example here, the R value of our insulation, our cavity insulation, is R21, okay? And then we're picking up another R5 and change with the exterior insulation. The U value of our glazing in our windows and doors was called out at 0.31, okay, so very low number. Here is a snapshot, if you're interested, of the Title 24 document, which I'll post in Canvas, that we got. Okay, so every year I have to get in touch with an energy analyst and send her the plans and say, hey, this is the house we're building. Can you do an energy analysis for us? Okay, we call it the Title 24 documents, and that's kind of shorthand for the energy code, but really Title 24 is referring to the entire building code for California. So it's a little misleading, but this is kind of like shorthand for the energy code, okay? So what we've got the walls, and it tells us right here, tells us all the front, left, right, okay, rear of the residence and the garage. We need R21 plus R7 insulation, okay? And that R7 is going to be the exterior insulation, okay? The floor, we need to have R19, okay? Right here, interior floor, R19 insulation. I will say this, and we're going to get into some different kinds of insulation here pretty soon. The engineered joist that we're using, it's not very effective to use fiberglass bats on those engineered joists. So I try and avoid foam as much as possible, but the best way to insulate a subfloor with engineered joists is by using foam, okay? Just the shape of those I-joists, the insulation bats don't really fit, and then the insulation job is ineffective if you don't completely fill the cavity. Okay, so that one's a little bit difficult to get around. And then the ceiling is going to call out for R30. Okay, we're going to approach that in a couple different ways. We could do bats, we could do really thick bats, or we could do blow-in. Okay, and we'll get to that here in a minute. So on the garage, they're saying we don't need any insulation for the garage except for the wall that's going to back up to that stairwell. Okay, we have to insulate that because that's connected to the conditioned space on our ADU that we have. Okay. And then here's a little video that I would encourage you all to watch. It's our friends from this old house talking about different kinds of insulation. Okay, we've got some denim, we've got some spray foam. Take a look at this. It's good.